know. Hi. I know. I'm the mean human. Just want to have a little look. Hi, babies. There's two. I want to have a look at their three, sorry. This is the one that had the pasty bum. And see how it's clean around the, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's butthole, which is where they also lay eggs out of. There's some poo caught on her feathers. But I'm not going to soak her now. But I soak her to get rid of it and keep it clean. And this, she's going well. Because as long as she can poo, that's just the left of that purple is the left of the spray that I put on it. It's not a wound or anything. But I soaked her bottom like this. I soaked them all. Well, one of them I didn't. I just let her stand in the water because it was a very hot day. They're eating. I just fed them for the tomorrow and the next 2 days actually. Soaked their pellets. It's been very hot. This one's perfect. Look. No pasty bum. And then this is a special feeder that I'm feeding all the birds. It's got wormer in it and it won't hurt the chicks, but it's more. This one soaked the other day. I need to look at it without holding the camera to make sure it's not blocked. Hey, look at you. Hey, look at you. They're so cute. I've moved her dad, which is also probably the father of these roosters, these chicks, and she's the mother, or both, out from the sea brights because I've now got a rooster pen, so I've got a whole load of bantam roosters in a pen together. So I only want the fathers to be purebred. I know, but you can go in there. I don't mind hatching your eggs even if they are sea bright crosses. No, I don't mind, but it means the sea brights, their eggs will be crosses. Eventually I'd like to just free range the little roosters I don't want to breed from, but the problem is just getting the livestock guardian dog to accept them. See, there's holes in this. I picked it up from a council clean-up outside a neighbour's house, and I think it's great because there's a couple of layers of the mesh, so it's hard to show. I won't even go into it, it's too boring. But yeah, I can easily make it snake proof. It's inside, but you know, man, snakes get everywhere, and it's got windows open that the hens can't get into. Birds can't get into, but a snake could get into, so it doesn't heat up. It's a really cool cabin. This is nice. I know. We brought you in for the rain, and I haven't taken them out yet. They're so tiny. I just don't want to. I know they're safe here, you know, and I just worry so much about them. I'm just going to wait until they're bigger, because every time I go, oh, I'm going to move them, I look at how tiny they are and I think, nah, I'm not going to move them. I've got another hen on guinea fowl eggs. Hi, Mum, sorry you're not in the video. And they're so tiny. Guinea fowl geese start off smaller than them, or about the same size as these little chicks. They're tiny. But they grow much quicker and end up much bigger and bigger than the mums. But I tend to I'll do the same thing with them. Well, they're tiny, keep them in, and they'll get a lot more coccidiosis treatment because the mats I reuse are all used inside, outside, everywhere. I learned from experience a while ago that brooders easily get infected. So I just, even when they've never had any contact with outside, because they can come in off my hands and it's such a strain. It's better assuming that there's coccidiosis in the brooders and just treating them as like outside birds from the get-go. But obviously they are better inside. There's less chance of coccidiosis than being in a muddy situation, which is what happens when it rains. You can't avoid the mud. And then what happens? So the mud creates the damp, right? So all the rain, you get all the wet. Then we had massive extreme heat for autumn, so up in the 30s Celsius. So we went from torrential rain because there was the cyclone up north, and just rain. It didn't flood here, but it rained a lot, which was good, that's fine. But everything turns to mud. Then with that extreme heat, the coccidiosis and all the worms just explode. They reproduce like crazy, but not in here, because this is just constant. It's inside. So even though I'm assuming they've got coccidiosis spores or whatever they're called, they're not spores, they're like the actual little creatures in here, and worms. They get worms from mum, and possibly on the mats and everything, even though they get cleaned off. So I treat them like, they don't have to be treated as extremely, but the wormer is just a worm feeder I bought everybody, like even the geese, and that's all they're all eating, except the geese get hay as well. I'm not giving any of the chickens or guinea fowl greens while they're on it, so that they just eat this so they get enough. And I had to do it because of the, so they're, I don't know, they're over a week now, so it won't hurt them. Like I'd be worming them now anyway. When I've got them in brooders, I tend to treat for red mites if I find any. I haven't seen any on her. You can really tell when a broody hen has red mites because they'll come out onto the bedding. You'll see it. And in the past couple of summers, I've definitely had red mites. And look, there probably are some around, but they're not exploding at the moment. Like so. And then I always treat all my broody hens my hens always get wormed when they're broody. So like a lot of them free range, and it's the only time they get wormed. But at the moment everyone's getting this feed, and my free range birds included, but they should get enough of a dose to get wormed. The only problem is if they don't is parasite resistance, which isn't ideal, but they eat the same food as the geese. It's impossible, and I can't look them up. I've got just too many free-range birds to lock up. I love how they peck their mums. You're such a good mum. And these chicks are lovely. I'm not sure the sex. I'm pretty sure one is definitely a girl, just from the comb. And the other two, I would say, their combs are big, but they're orange, so we'll see what colour they turn out. It could mean that they're going to be boys, like big combs, or just that they're big combed girls. Like what I mean by that is some hens have more prominent combs than other. Depends on the mix. But given what's in there, I'd be inclined to say that they're boys, but we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen, because I haven't had this breed before as babies. So we'll see, and I always end up having hen eyes. I don't want them to be cockerels, because as a farmer, hens are always preferable, because not so much with the small breeds. You can kind of manage having excess roosters, and I don't cull any of my small roosters. But as the big roosters, they really have to be culled, because they gang rape the hens and they fight, and it just becomes a nightmare the first spring after they're hatched. So I can keep them going until they start getting hormonal and want to mate the hens, and then they start, becomes problems. They get a good pecking order, but they're more likely to challenge. But it's more that the hens actually lose feathers, they can get sores, they can go bald in patches from the roosters jumping on them and mating them. They grab the back of the neck and they stand on them, and they literally lose feathers. It's just dreadful. And it's not fair, so unfortunately they have to be culled. Guinea fowl, geese, the Seabright bantams, and even the spit game bantams, I've been able to manage them all with excess roosters, and the number of roosters has never mattered. I've even had more roosters than hens in Seabrights, never overmated. They're not a highly aggressive breed, and they've got low fertility anyway compared to like other breeds, and they don't lay as much and everything, and the roosters don't have a lot of characteristics in Seabrights that other roosters have, and I can't help thinking that's kind of whatever affected those characteristics might have also bred out some genes that would affect their aggressiveness, and their aggressiveness with what do you call it, you know, mating. And aggressiveness isn't quite right, but like their instinct to mate. They do mate happily, but they don't kind of pile on the way my bigger roosters do, the Wyandotte mix crosses, or they're all sorts of different crosses, and they're mixtures. And the hens, it's not fair on the hens, so that's the only way I could cope with culling them. I have culled some myself. It was very awful, and we're going to eat the next lot that we have to cull. We've decided how we're going to set it up, and my sons will help me. I have given some roosters to an Indian restaurant, so they were eaten, so that was good. The only thing that worries me is how they're treated. I've got to admit it's pretty hard culling them yourself, because they trust you, and then you pick them up and then give them a pat and then kill them, and it's just a lot of cognitive dissonance there. But the problem is I can't keep them, and a lot of people that say they've got rooster havens, they're not. They just process them. I'm sure there are some people, but I don't have the money to create a rooster haven, because you'd actually have to really lock up all your hens and let all the roosters free range would be the easiest way to do it. But to give them a good quality of life, they need a massive pen. Like, any bird that I don't have to possibly free range, I don't want to free range. I mean, I don't want to lock up. So my hens get locked up when they go broody, because when they're sitting on nesting boxes, I don't want them to be harassed by roosters. And roosters that's actually how I ended up culling them, was the first roosters to jump on a hen while she was nesting would get culled. And at the moment I've got 3 free range roosters, and I'd have to get a really special looking rooster a natured rooster to keep them. My top roosters become lower in the pecking order, and he was brilliant. He used to let all the other roosters roost with him. He never picked on anybody, but then Frank, who was always second in charge, challenged him, and he kicked him out of the hen house, because they would all sleep in the same coop at night. The dog sleeps in a dog kennel in there. It's always open because there's a livestock guardian dog in there, so they're safe as houses. The geese used to lay in there. I've taken them out of there now, mainly because it was just getting too messy and crowded, and with the dog would sleep next to them, and also we've got more geese now, so I've completely changed how I farm them when they're nesting, and I'll have to change them yet again because we've doubled our flock size, just so we split up the mating pairs a bit for coming into the next season. But we've still only really got 2 hens that should be laying eggs, but I want to split them up. So Dad, I need to give it a lot of thought. Anyway, so I'm leaving her there. You're a good girl. I know. Yeah, she liked that when I talked to her like that. You saw her little mouth. And I'm not bothering you, but I have got a light shining on you, haven't I? And you've been so patient. And she doesn't know that I'm talking to people on YouTube. She just thinks I'm having a chat. Hey, my good girl. Can I give you... Here. I know, I'm sorry, you're a good girl, you're a good girl. I'm not going to take your babies. I'm not going to take your babies, you're a good girl. Oh, you're a good girl. Hey, you can relax now. Hey. Hey, Daisy. I need to get her to know her name. Hi, Daisy. I'd love to free range you, but you're so tiny. I'm scared. I just see my hand. That's how little she is. She's tiny. You're tiny, and she's all feathers. So underneath, her little body would be tiny weeny, and she's all spread out. Her wings are spread out there. I know. I don't want anything to happen to you, but they have big aviaries, so she would enjoy that. She seems pretty happy. She was free ranging where she was, but it was just a backyard, and it wasn't a particularly big backyard. Like the little patch that she's got, she's unharassed in. No one bothers her. None of the birds bother her. I better stop and keep working. It's dark. It's night. Okay, bye.